Hello, and today we're going to be giving a talk about the topic of how life flows, and it is the mind that gets stuck. If you're new here, my name is Paula Jane Newman. I'm the founder of Aware Meditation Inc., meditation teacher, and we're going to be talking about how when we meditate, we get stuck because our mind is attached to predominantly a result. And when we meditate, we close our eyes and we're brought to our attention that which is going on without using our sense of sight. That means we're going to hear things more clearly. We're going to be nervous about noises that we wouldn't be normally. And suddenly we are naturally brought inward. The nature of the mind at all times is designed to protect our bodies. It's there for our longevity. However, we are caught in cycles and patterns that actually stop us from moving forward. We get stuck. For example, meditation student today talked about whether they're doing the meditation right. You have a mantra that you use, the mind is repeating the mantra, but then sooner or later, the mind starts saying, but am I saying the right mantra? Am I saying the mantra too quickly? Is this doing anything? Did I use the mantra when I thought about the mantra? Or is that just me thinking about the mantra? And then while I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about how much time has now passed in this meditation. And this meditation really isn't worth anything anyway. Why did I learn it? I mean, I could be walking and taking a hike right now and listening to some celebrity on an app about meditation. I don't even know why I'm doing this. Wait, now I seem to have forgotten my mantra. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying the mind gets stuck, right? Life flows, which means while we're meditating, believe it or not, other people are doing things. Other people are getting on with their lives. The plants are still growing. The ocean is still moving. But me, I'm meditating, and no, my mind is stuck in this pattern. This is what I'm talking about when I say that the mind gets stuck, but life continues. This, however, doesn't only just happen in meditation, it happens in our waking state, right? We've got something to do, and maybe we had a conversation with someone, we didn't like how they talked to us, and I don't like that. And even while we're doing the dishes or we're just driving, doing an errand, our mind is continuing to chatter about how this person spoke to me and how maybe I don't deserve that treatment and why didn't I say anything? And if I said something, then they could have retaliated in this way. And then it was in a public forum. And that probably isn't the best idea. And it just continues and continues. This is because the mind is stuck. The mind is stuck in a pattern of being in fight or flight to preserve me when it doesn't need to be. And what happens is over time, that pattern then becomes a habit. And that habit then becomes normal. So, how do we hack that habit? That's what this is about, really. Well, there may be a term you've heard of letting go. There was a Disney cartoon film with a song that became famous called Let It Go. As annoying as it was, everyone knew that I needed to let go of the song being annoying. This is how deep this goes. This is why that song actually resonated on a deeper level, because people are like, yeah, let it go, let it go. However, when we're in a habit with something that is now buried into our nervous system, which calls us what we call a samskara. It's burnt. It is almost like its own trauma now. So for us to move away from that is actually traumatizing. So for us to now stop having that repeating mind that's stuck is now really hard because we're going uphill, because now our whole being, our whole consciousness is attached to this mind having to recreate these stories. Like, if we don't have these stories, who am I? Who am I? And now we really get to talk about what meditation is doing. Who am I? What am I? Outside of me, life is still happening. It's moving, but I'm not. I'm stuck. This is because the mind wants us to stay up here. And who we really are and what we are in the world comes from in here. You can call it your heart space, you can call it your soul, right? There is a disconnect. And there's one one practice that can be done. And that is a practice that can be done slightly after the meditation we do, which is disconnecting from our story. That's my story. That's not who I am. And when we meditate and we can take a moment of recognizing and now becoming aware that this is a habit in my mind of making me be stuck, right? So when we become aware of it, we're now beginning to move away from it. And so maybe let's say I start to get back to some computer work or something I need to do, and yet it still keeps plaguing me. It keeps plaguing me. The trick is not to distract ourselves from it. The trick is to release. People like to use the word detach. When I say the word detach, it's not necessarily received in the way the intent is. It's really release, surrender from the story, right? So I can be doing something, my mind is going on about what that person said to me. I can take a breath, be aware that that's happening. And what we're doing is we start to face ourselves. So in waking state, it can be done in increments, right? Take ourselves in a generous way. Be nice to ourselves. This is happening. All right, I'm going to put a timer on right now. 20 minutes, if I can, I'm going to do the work. 20 minutes, I'm going to get down to this work. Okay, I hear the story. It's talking in the background. Yada, 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 yada. That's okay. I'm going to do the work. And around 20 minutes, stop. Take a moment. Go do something else. Come back. It's not an accident that they discovered meditating 20 minutes twice a day hit a certain mark where you got the maximum results from minimal efforts. So it's not an accident when I say do 20 minutes and give yourself a break, right? This is how we begin to detach from our stories. The other way that we detach from our stories is by regularly doing the meditation practice that I love, that I fully endorse, that changed my life. That is the letting go practice. And as we do that, even though we might have conversations in our head and thoughts flow freely in that meditation, we are practicing surrendering our judgment, which is our story. So you've already started to do that. And then you have a practice where the flow can move more. So when you're in waking state and you hear this story coming, oh, hello, there you are again. Am I going to address it? You've already got the practice of beginning to let go of the so-called story of the mind in this pattern. When we remove something, we have to then fill the hole that's there. So if we start to remove this habit, this attachment that we have to this story that keeps us stuck, we have to replenish it with something. And that's why if you do 20 minutes, you can go back and breathe, go back into daydream land, go back into your story if you want, get in, but you're going to find you'll be more productive in life. And you're also going to connect more to who you really are. Oh, I'm not that story. I'm unhappy about what that person said, but they're not really me. That's not who I am. That's their voice. This is where they end, and this is where I begin. So notice that as you continue to move through, how the mind allows you to be stuck in these ongoing situations. And if you have family members or long-term relationships, notice how they'll do something that will keep you stuck. You'll be like, oh, there it is again. I can tell you personally, it happened to me again today. Someone was like doing technical stuff that I had to redo again. Okay, there's redoing it. And then there's my story that I have about why does this always go on? It's always last minute. It wasn't like that before. But is that stopping me from getting on with it? And this is how usually very efficient people work in the world. They are not attached to that story. They're not allowing the mind to get stuck. So if it's an emotional connection, the meditation that we do will absolutely help diminish this in the waking state. If it's, I think everything's emotional and spiritual anyway. If it is simply a practical thing, it's going to be easier to detach from. This is the beginning stage of how we stop ourselves getting stuck. and notice that everything is going on around us. We're the only ones that are stuck. And even if it's a practice you're doing it all day, you're noticing this is occurring, it's okay. The first part is to notice it and then begin very gently, easily, and effortlessly to start to address it. There are other things that can be done. Coming to a group meditation always helps. If you have a technique that you've been using for a long time and you want to upgrade, do that. That will help. And then, of course, listening to some of these talks that I give about how you can, in the waking state, start helping yourself with these other techniques to be able to be more present. Are there any questions that people might have? You can pop it in the chat if you want.
I have a question, Paula, and thank you for this service. I very much appreciate it. Just during the day, like I'm in the cafe trying to get some work done, and it's not practical to, shut my eyes in public. And I've heard about this alternate nostril thing. So, just to reset the day and let go of my story, because like you said, a story comes up, it's like, oh, this will never work. I don't belong in this, blah, blah, blah. So just to pause, reset. And I heard that not alternate nostril breathing is a good one. Do you have a thought about that? Or are there any other things you can do in public that kind of address that?
Yes, absolutely. The alternate breathing, those of you who've learned the yoga technique of rounding with it, but I can show it to you right now. The alternate nostril technique, the reason why it works is because we go from the left brain into the right brain and it resets the nervous system. There are several videos and things that I have of it and that I did a lot during the pandemic, but I'll show it to you right now. So you take it's going to be opposite here with the mirror. You're going to take if you're right-handed, left-handed, it doesn't really matter. Either way, you're going to exhale through your left nostril first of all. Then inhale through your left nostril. Hold for a moment and then exhale through the right nostril. Inhale through the right nostril. And then exhale through the left nostril. I've done it one time and I can already see it moves. It's one of the fastest ways to reset. And also, I've meditated in public spaces. And as long as you're safe and maybe you hold on to your purse, you'll be amazed at how people actually leave you alone, or people then come up to you and ask you. Most of the time, people don't want to deal with anyone else. They're so busy with their own stuff. So meditating on a bench, yes, in a coffee shop, it's going to be a bit noisy. It's not the best place to meditate, but I'm letting you know it can be done. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, it doesn't cost you any money. It helps us with a nonprofit. And then I will be sending this out and with email about the next meeting that we have. And I'd love to hear about how it goes with all of you trying this practice in waking state.